Welcome to another episode of the Corporate Curriculum with Dr. Danny. Today we'll be talking about overachievers, those who just can't say no at work. Some people call them overachievers. Sometimes I call them overachievers, but sometimes I call them scaredy cats. So today I'll be talking about people who just are afraid to say no at work for whatever reason, and I'll be sharing some strategies with you about how to say no strategically at work. So before I get into that, please make sure you subscribe to my page. Make sure you follow me on Instagram at Align_consulting_partners. Like this content and comment at the end if you have some other strategies that I may have missed. Everybody knows that person. When we were growing up in school, they always raised their hand. They always had a question. They always wanted to add some unnecessary information to draw out lessons at school. Those people also work with you. So they come to work and, not necessarily to be annoying on purpose or, to make other people's life harder, but they may make their own lives harder at work because they do not know how to say no. Anytime somebody asks them to do something, they say yes. They don't ask any questions. They just continue to pile on things onto their schedule, onto their work life. And then they wonder why at the end of the day, at the end of the week, at the end of the month, that they are so burnt out. They wonder why they're stressed out and anxious and don't want to get up for work. It's because they keep saying yes. Not only are they saying yes, they're continuously saying yes to non-promotable tasks. So when you talk about working with early career, researchers, scholars, employees, or just any career folks, a lot of people, their focus is, how do I get to the next level? Like, I really like this level. How can I get to the next level? And when you talk to them about, okay, what have you been doing? They can name thousands of things that they've been doing. Like, oh, I come to work early. I leave work late. I work on the weekends. I, watch my manager's dog. I go to all the social events. I took on Susie's role when Susie left. I did all of these different things, and I can't understand why I'm not being promoted. So today, I'm going to talk to you about how to say no so that, one, you can free up your time to take on more tasks that will help you, increase your visibility, increase your skills or knowledge about the organization, make better connections at work. So not only, if you want to be promoted, but so that you can have a better work-life balance. And I know that is going to be criticized a little bit because is there truly a such thing as a work-life balance? I don't know, but it could be balanced sometimes, and you just don't want to be the one left doing all of the chores that nobody else wants to do. So 2 things I'm going to talk about: what makes an overachiever, what does that actually look like, is not only the person that's always saying yes to everything, but also the people at work who don't really have any boundaries. They're always available. So that person could be doing both of these things, saying yes to everything and always being available. So today I want to talk about a framework to make some decisions around how to strategically say no. So when your manager asks you to do something, I know it could be difficult, especially when you're early on in your career, to say flat out no, or that's not in my job description. But one of the things that you want to think about is how to say that, and I'm going to give you this framework. The framework is called the 3 Ds. So when you're thinking about if you should strategically say yes or strategically say no to opportunities, think about these 3 things. 1, data. Will completing this task teach me a new skill, allow me to do something differently that I can add to my resume. So that is the data. What data point is this helping you to achieve? The second thing is dirt. Does this give me some insider information about the organization, about the people I'm working with, about my managers, about people above them? Am I going to get any new information by completing this task? And the last one is distinction. Will completing this task raise my visibility at work? Will people above my manager be able to see, like, okay, Danielle did this task, and, you know, is a role that they wasn't sure that I was able to do, or they just really didn't think about me at work at all, and so it allows me to raise my visibility. So when you're thinking about saying no at work, you want to think about those 3 Ds. It's going to get me a new data point for my resume, for my evaluation. Is it going to give me any dirt or insider information on the corporation or the people that I work with? Or is it going to give me an area of where I can be distinguished? Are people going to get to know me by completing some of these tasks, right? That maybe I don't have time to do. And, you know, I always provide my caveats and my context. Of course, there's times where you just can't say no. Sometimes you take on, you know, additional tasks for various reasons. So I'm not talking about saying no to everything that doesn't give you dirt, data, or distinction, right? But, you know, you have to make some educated guess. But using that framework can help you be strategic about when to say no, or when to strategically say yes. All right, so I'm going to give you some examples. So you're new to a job and you're joining your first couple of meetings. This doesn't apply if you are administrative assistant, but if that is not your role, you're joining your first couple of meetings, whether virtually or in person, and your manager say like, oh, you're new here. Why don't you start by just taking some notes for the team, right? So you may not want to say no, right? You want to think about it. Okay, if I take the notes, one, you're not going to be able to be fully engaged because you're worried about taking the notes. So what I would think about is, what is another strategy that can help me gather these notes so that I can pay attention and be active and engaged in the meeting? I can also do as my manager asks me to do. So I would maybe suggest something else, or just do something else. So if it's a virtual meeting, I would just request like, oh, can we use Facilitator if you have Copilot as part of your suite of tools at your job, or could we record the meeting and then I can transcribe the notes afterwards? Usually they give you a transcript of the note so that you can be fully engaged. And I would say that like, oh, I really want to make sure that I'm fully engaged in the notes. I was wondering if we could use one of these tools to take the notes, and I can summarize them and send them out to the team. So think about how you can say yes and maybe no at the same time, but you have some evidence or reasoning around that. Another task that you may be tasked with is coordinating meeting logistics. So many times when you're working for an organization and they want to put together a team building event, or they want to put together maybe a professional development event, or just some other type of in-person meeting, and they don't have a planning team, they may ask others on the team to help them with some of those tasks. So whether that is coordinating the meeting logistics, such as like making sure lunch is ordered, finding a location, finding vendors, etc. When you're thinking about these scenarios, even if they may not explicitly be in your job description, you want to think about, how is this going to help me be more visible or create add another skill to my resume? So am I going to get any dirt about the organization? I think coordinating meeting logistics may, allow you to get to know your colleagues in a different way. Am I going to get some distinction from doing this task? So will others that's coming to the meeting look at your skills and not see I think the thing here about distinction is, you don't want to be the best meeting planner there is if that's not your role, because when you do things well, the reward for doing good work is more work. So if you don't really want to be the meat and logistics organizing person, you want to, not that you want to sabotage it, but you want to think about distinction as how am I going to increase my visibility at work by doing this task, maybe not like planning the perfect meeting, right? And then you also want to think about data. So how are you going to get some data or a new skill that you can put on your resume? So if you're planning a meeting for 300 people, I think that's a good data point regardless of your role. Putting together a meeting of that size is very difficult, right? So that's how you decide if that's something you want to add to your plate. Another scenario would be your director needs to present a summary of a project to the VP, and she asks you like, oh, can you draft the notes for the VP? So then you might want to say, okay, this is going to give me some visibility or distinction with a level above my manager if I put together the summary notes. So that's another scenario which you would say yes. If you are testing out, your organization may be testing out a new tool, like an AI tool or some other tool, and they ask you, well, can you get your team to pilot this tool so that we can get some feedback around the usability of the tool? So again, you want to review your schedule, but I think this may be another opportunity for you to say yes, because it's going to give you some data. You're piloting a new tool, is going to make you not an expert, but you'll have more experience than people who will be using it after you. So it'll give you data. It may give you also some distinction because folks will be coming to you to ask you questions about, what worked and what didn't work. And it may give you some dirt on like how the organization picks teams to do this type of work. So I gave you all these scenarios, and in each of the scenarios, I described why you strategically would say yes, but I hope it was helpful because I gave you the framework on how you would make those decisions. In cases where you may want to say no, something that you may want to do or think about when I said like you need to have a rationale is if your manager comes to you and they have some additional tasks for you to do, and you already have a heavy workload. So you have some priority things that you're working on that you want to finish from the week. If you want to say no, you want to phrase it like, okay, manager, whoever your manager is, okay, manager, I'll be happy to stop working on this priority task and help you with this task that you asked me, if you're okay with me extending the deadline for X, Y, Z. So you don't just say yes and take on new work, but you think about and you give your manager the option of finding somebody else by saying like, yes, I'm happy to help you with this, but if I help you with this, it's going to take time away from me doing X, Y, Z tasks, right? And then that way your manager is informed about what will be falling off your plate in order for you to do this new thing. I think it would be beneficial for you to provide this rationale, and also, you provide this rationale in writing. I'm a firm believer in always sharing out things that like extended deadlines or when things have changed or move around, sharing that in writing, because some people have selective memory and they only remember the thing that you did for them that was immediate or urgent for them, but they don't remember what you told them that you had to, extend, massage, or change to meet that need. So again, when you're thinking about saying no, make sure you have a good rationale. You're not just coming out saying like, oh no, this is not in my job description, but you provide a rationale for how it's going to affect the other work that you have on your plate. And so why is saying no important? One, is important because it's a limited time in a day, right? There's only so many things that you can do in one day, 1 week, etc. So you really need to think about how you are spending your time. And I think when people are saying yes to more things that they can complete and they start doing things late or they start making a lot of mistakes, or they're doing things at the last minute. They're sending things, the meeting starts at 12. They're sending documents and agendas at 11:58 and 11:59. People notice that, right? And you want your reputation to be, it doesn't have to be perfect, but you want to be seen as somebody who can get the work done well, and that you are thoughtful about the things that you are doing. You are taking the extra step, having extra time to revise your materials, to make sure everything is aligned, and you are sending things out in a timely manner, right? So those are the things that build respect and positive rapport and reputation at work. It's not the person that is working, you have an 8-hour day and you're working 12 hours. It's not the person that is working on a weekend to get things done. It's not the person that comes in a meeting and they're just so stressed about everything that they are forgetting some things. Because to me, as a manager, when I see people who are, having a hard time balancing their regular role, or that's coming to me and saying like, oh, I'm working overtime all the time, or I see they respond to emails 11, 12 at night, Saturdays and Sundays and all of these things. What that signals to me is that these people are not able to manage their time, right? So if you are not able to complete your work within the scheduled time, then that's a conversation that you need to be having with your manager, either about adjusting your workload, adjusting your pay, getting you help or assistance so that you can show up every day, do a great job, and also leave work and not feel like you have to take everything home with you, right? So a lot of people think that, okay, if I'm just saying yes to everything, yes, I can do this, yes, I can turn this around in 2 days, yes, I can turn this around in a few hours, they think like, oh, the manager will say like, oh, this person is always saying yes when I ask them to do something. But what they're not thinking about is that manager also sees all of the things that you have done and turned in that was late. They also hear all the conversation when you say like, oh, I'm working overtime, or I'm working on a weekend, or I couldn't do things with my kids, or, I couldn't do things with my family because I'm always at work. So I think it's a double-edged sword. So you may think that you are increasing your visibility by saying yes, but if you're not really using this framework to strategically decide whether you should say yes or no to some of these opportunities, you may be left doing a lot of work that's not your work, right? Or just a lot of work that you could probably get assistance with if you weren't just continuously putting yourself out there and saying yes to everything. So we really want you to think about, how to say no. So you can say no. Think about how to say it, how to back it up with the rationale that's appropriate for the scenario. And then also being able to feel good about that, because advocating for yourself is important. You want others to advocate for you, but you need to be able to speak up for yourself and share where there's opportunities for you maybe to grow. So if you're already taking on a new task in which you are growing in an area, you may take more time to complete something than somebody who has years of experience. So I think being honest about that and sharing that, I think that is a positive. I can't determine if every manager will say like, this, see it as a positive, but I think it's a positive because to me it's you being true to what you are able to do. Now you can't come to the job and say you know how to use AI and then it takes you 6 hours to do something that should take 20 minutes, right? But if you are presented with an opportunity to stretch your skills, I think being honest about that, about the support you may need in that and the time that it may require, I think is helpful. And even if you don't know that right away, once you get into it and you say like, okay, this is taking me a little bit more time, sharing that out, advocating for yourself is important. So when somebody is asking you to do something additional, whether it's within your job description or not, you can clearly say like, okay, I really want to help you with this, but it's taking me a little longer because I'm learning this new skill over here. Or I really want to help you with this, but I think Diana or somebody else would be a better fit because they're really strong in this area and they could turn it around, pretty quickly. And think about strategically that framework, the 3Ds. Is it going to get you some dirt on the organization and the people that you work with? Is it going to raise your visibility by, bringing some distinction to the work? Or is it going to be a new skill or data point that you can add to your resume or your evaluation? So those are some of the things that you should think about when you're trying to decide if you should say no. All right. So the second part of this is around always being available. So I think I covered some of this, and when you're new to an organization or when you are just maybe not as comfortable working with a particular team or organization, one of the things that you may think you should do, especially when you're working remote, is be available all the time. All right, so I am going on vacation next week, so I don't know if y'all gonna get another episode next week. So I'll be celebrating my birthday, and one of the things that people have said at work when I'm like, oh, I'm about to be on vacation, so I'll be out probably like a week and a half because I'm coming back to another thing where I'll be offline, is, oh, make sure you delete Outlook from your phone. And I'm like, you don't have to tell me that. You don't have to tell me that. I'm not responding to any emails. I'm not responding to any Teams messages while I am on vacation. I have some hard boundaries around that. And of course, nothing is black and white. I'm just sharing that. But I think it's really funny when people think that they need to remind me to turn off my Outlook messages or my team messages while I'm on vacation. That's one thing you don't have to do. But for a lot of people, especially those who are really afraid to say no at work, they also don't have boundaries at work. So those are the same people that are out there. They are responding to emails when they're supposed to be off. I work from home, and a lot of people may be in this situation. A Teams message may come in if you have team members that's working in a different country, or they may work in a different side of the country. Their team messages may come in late, and they feel like a need to respond. So they already work their 8.5, 9-hour days, 10-hour days, and then a message comes in, it's 10 o'clock at night, and instead of just saying like, okay, I'll wait till the morning, they feel like they have to respond. They feel like a sense of urgency. And I think it's also, they feel like they are going to get some kudos from always being available and not having boundaries. And like I said earlier about people who, are afraid to say no at work and continuously take on more than they can do, and that shows up in other areas. When there are people who are responding to emails on the weekend, responding to emails and doing their job when they're supposed to be on vacation, like maybe some managers who don't value you may see that as a positive. But when I think about staff who are doing that, I think that they aren't able to delegate appropriately. And this may be morbid, but one of the things that, I'm going to share two things. One, I feel like you really teach people how to treat you, whether that's at work, at home, in your relationships, friendships, any type of relationships. And the more you go outside of what is comfortable, the more you allow people to cross your boundaries, the more you say you're not going to do something and then you turn around and do it anyway, the worse people are going to treat you, because everybody is out for how they can progress, how they can get the things done that they need to get done. And if they can use you to get those things done, you are a tool, you're a resource for them. And it may not be malicious, but they know that they can call you or email you any time of night, any time of day, anytime you're on vacation, and you're going to respond and do something for them, then they are going to do it. And yes, it may be seen like, oh, okay, this is positive, I'm getting some kudos for this person, but the whole objective, especially when you think about being promoted or progressing or learning new skills, is that one, you want to be able to learn a new skill. So responding all types of night, I'm pretty sure you're not learning a new skill. And you also want to increase your visibility at work, right? And if you're working for a manager that is, and I'm putting this on managers, but it doesn't have to be managers. You're working for managers, or you're doing things for your co-workers that is just going to stay at that level, you're not increasing your distinction or visibility at work either. You're just like a workhorse at work, right? And so another thing that you want to think about is, if you die today or tomorrow, that job is not going to collapse. That organization is not going to collapse. It's been around years before you started. It's going to be years after you're gone. They're going to find somebody else to fill that role. And so I say that to say, I know it might be morbid, but what you should be thinking about is, how can I delegate to make sure that when I'm out of the office, that people know who are the appropriate people to go to for different things. So if you work on different projects, if you could assign somebody like, hey, these are the things that you can do while I'm out of the office. Of course, sometimes there are emergencies and you may take that on, but you shouldn't be handling your day-to-day tasks when you are out on PTO. You should be able to enjoy your family, your time by yourself. Enjoy yourself while you are on vacation, or just rest, or whatever it is that you want to do to vacate from the office. So I know people think like, oh, if I continue to say yes, if I continue to work hard and do more than is necessary, or more than I have the time to do, that is going to give me some extra points or kudos. But really what it's going to give you is burnout. It's going to give you a feeling of being underappreciated, and it may not, give you the other types of outcomes that you think you are going to think, because people are going to look at you, people who are really good at identifying who makes a good manager, who's, best suited for the next role, whether it's a level up or a lateral move or whatever. People who are really good at those things are going to be able to see that you take on more than you need to do. You don't have any boundaries. You can't delegate tasks. And they're not going to be, encouraged to move you to the next level. So that is some things that I want you to think about as you are continuously saying no, or trying to feel like, should I say no? Should I say yes to certain tasks? Use those tools. Use that framework, the 3 Ds, dirt, distinction, or data, to decide when you should say no, and then always make sure that you are providing the appropriate rationale for doing that. All right, so now we're at what's becoming maybe my favorite part of the podcast, is our corporate curriculum game. Are you going to call them out or call them in? So think about what we talked about today: dirt, data, distinction, providing a rationale, building your reputation of somebody who is a strong leader, and respond to these scenarios. Are you going to call them out, or are you going to call them in? So scenario 1, your manager repeatedly asks you to review presentations or complete tasks on your day off. Are you going to call them out, or are you going to call them in? For me, I'm going to call them out, because if you repeatedly ask me to complete tasks on my day off, I think that there is something going on here that we need to discuss. So I want to know, are there some things that you not know? Am I not planning appropriately, giving you enough heads up about when I'm out? Do you not have a list of people in which I delegated the task out to? What is the missing piece here that, makes you think that you should be able to contact me when I'm out of work? Right, so if it's not an emergency, we need to have a discussion about that. So I'm gonna call them out respectfully. All right, your coworker repeatedly takes on more tasks than they can handle, so they end up passing some of the tasks onto you, and they usually do it at the last minute. Are you gonna call them out, or are you gonna call them in? I think for some people, they distinguish between somebody on their level and somebody that's not on their level, and that helps them determine if they're calling them out or calling them in. Today, I'm definitely going to call them out, because the key word in these two scenarios is that they continuously do it. And I'm a person that advocates for myself at work. So if you are continuously doing something, that means I've already had a conversation with you once or twice before I call you out. And so I'm going to call my coworker out and say like, hey, you continuously are taking on more than you can do, and you're passing it to me, passing tasks off to me at the last minute. I really want to help you with some of these tasks, or I can help you with some of these tasks, but we need to better decide like how to divide up this work. And also, I'd appreciate if you check on my schedule before you start passing on things that you took on and you said you had time to do. So I'm going to make sure that I let them know that this is not okay. And I do want to be a team player, but they cannot take on tasks and then have me do the work. Because another thing that I notice about people who take on tasks and then pass them off to other people, they don't give you credit. They don't give you credit for completing the task for them or help you on the task. Most of the time, they're taking on these responsibilities because they want their manager or somebody else to see them in a positive light. So if they take it on and give it to somebody else, then they will have to share that credit. And that's not why they're doing it. So I'm definitely calling you out if you're repeatedly doing it. All right, scenario 3, your coworker. This is somebody you're close to. It could be somebody you consider your friend, or like a work friend, tells you that they are repeatedly working after hours. So every time you ask them out for a happy hour or to go try a new restaurant, one of the things that they say is, oh, I can't because I got work to finish. Oh, I can't because, on the weekends or late at night, and it's all the time. It's not just, once or twice. Because we all have periods where it's a lot going on and we have to do a lot, right? So, coworker that I consider a friend, I'm definitely calling you out. Like, girl, if you can't get that stuff done in the appropriate time frame, your work needs to be adjusted, or you need to think about how you are managing your time. So I would definitely be quicker to call out my friend, somebody I consider a friend, about their time management, their ability to delegate tasks to other people, and their workload in general. So if you're my friend, probably gonna call you out. I'm a Virgo too, so we don't waste no time calling people out or calling them in. We're gonna tell you like it is. So that is our love language, right? Because if we aren't saying things to you, that means we really don't care if you do it or not. We are saying it to you. It's because we want you to grow. So if you're my friend, I'm definitely gonna call you out. All right. So that concludes another episode of the Corporate Curriculum. Again, this episode was for those overachievers or those scaredy cats, those people who are afraid to say no at work, or they just don't know how to say no at work. So I hope these strategies were helpful for you. I hope you were able to take this framework and apply it to your daily, work. So don't continue to take on tasks that's you're not able to do in a reasonable time frame, or that's going to make you have to push other things off or make mistakes or do things late. Don't continue to take on tasks when you're supposed to be off. That's at night, weekends, holidays, vacations. Think about ways that you can delegate those tasks out, assign things to point people. And you don't have to be in a management role to delegate things out. You don't have to be a management role to make sure that your tasks are covered when you're out of the office. So these are skills that you can use, whether you're in management or not, to just make sure that things are getting done, that people know who they can contact when you are not available, because like I said, if anything happens to you today or tomorrow, that job is still going to be there. That organization is still going to continue to make money and do great quality work. So you want to make sure that you are in a good space in order to do those things, prevent you from feeling burnt out, prevent you from feeling like you're underappreciated at work, and so that you can provide the most benefit to the organization as well. So if you like this content, if you like this episode, please like, comment, and share. Also follow me on Instagram at Alon_consulting_partners. And I'll be back maybe next week, maybe the week after, because I'm going on vacation. Thank you.